Okay. All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here today. We have a wonderful episode for you. This is our 7th edition of Smoothie Sistas Live. I feel like the time just keeps flying by that we've been quarantined here, right?
It feels like it was forever.
It feels like it was forever. So for those of you who joined us last week for our Healthcare Heroes smoothie, we really hope that some of you were able to try that. And we love our favorite color, which Hayden's actually wearing today, our blue smoothie.
Blue.
And tonight we have a very special episode. We have the Native Guy, Nick, who's the founder and the beekeeper over at the Native Guy. He's going to be coming on to talk to us a little about honey for today, which is actually World Bee Day. So very excited about that. And before we get into the smoothie, I'd like to take you through a quick rundown of our story and really how Smoothie Sistas came about. So my sister Miriam and I had wanted to open up a healthy fast food joint for over a decade. And finally, in the summer of last year, I left my career in the beer business after 14 years, and we decided that no time was better than then. So we put a business plan together. We found a place in South Miami, and we opened our doors in March. And then we closed our doors in March. So that was definitely an interesting adventure. We will definitely reopen again. But, you know, that's how really Smoothie Sistas evolved. We still wanted to make sure that we were being true to our mission, which is to offer a healthy alternative to fast food to our community. And one of the things that we do love about Smoothie Sistas is that community now does not have to just be Miami or even South Florida. It can now really be all over the country, all over the world. People can tune in and learn a little bit how to make an easy recipe that's also really good for your health. So for each week, we come up with a new recipe, and there's always an inspiration behind it. And really tonight's inspiration, I guess you could say, is the word sweet, right? The word sweet. Sweetness is where the inspiration comes from. And really just to think about, especially in this time, that there's so many different things going on in your life. You might have some hardships, or it might be a little bit more different than what you were used to. But there's always going to be a little bit of sweetness. And tonight's sweetness comes from the Natives Guy, beautiful honey, this nice golden honey. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. And it's also World Bee Day. So for those of you who did not know that, May 20th is World Bee Day. So we're celebrating a lot tonight, and we're very happy that you're with us. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. I also wanted to let you know, if you do have any questions, please just go ahead and put that in the chat feature, and we will get to that, as I said, when it's blending or towards the end of the show. And the last thing I did want to mention is, if anyone wanted to donate to us reopening after the pandemic is over, we did set up a PayPal and a Venmo at Ginger and Juice Bar. My sister will go ahead and put those links in there for those of you who'd like to do that. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, with the smoothie. So let's see. Our first ingredient here is coconut milk. So originally, I actually had this recipe with a cup of almond milk, but I almost felt like it was an oxymoron to put the almond milk with the honey. And some of you might be like, well, what is she talking about? Well, there's been an influx in consumers wanting almond milk, going more towards that plant-based diet. And really, that's been very hard on the bee population. So it's very important that when you are buying almond milk, you know where that's coming from. You try to source out organic. And really, the pesticides used in those farms are really harming our bee population. So because of that, and in honor of that, I actually chose coconut milk instead for the milk. So my trusty assistant here, she's going to be putting 1 cup of coconut milk right into the blender. All right, there you go. And as she does that, for those of you who are on for the first time, we always start out, you got that? All right. We always start out with the milk. If you start out with the frozen items, then it really just tends to get caught up in the blade, and sometimes you have to hit go a couple times to get that smoothie moving. All right, let's go see what our next ingredient is. All right, I think we got all that milk in there. Right?
Banana.
Banana. All right, so for those of you who have watched me week after week, you probably could have guessed that after that milk came a banana. So we're going to be putting 1 frozen banana into the smoothie. Bananas are just such a nice base to the smoothie. It's also just a great way. It's a little bit extra filling, so it's good for that meal replacement or that snack. It gives you a nice dose of potassium. And actually, we're going to be talking a little bit about B vitamins today. And bananas have a vitamin in there called B6, which is really good for your central nervous system. And so we're going to go ahead and put 1 of those bananas right into the blender. All right, Hayden. There you go.
That's a strawberry.
Yes, next to the strawberry.
Strawberry.
Our next ingredient that we're going to be putting in, we're going to be doing 1 cup of frozen strawberries. Our next 2 ingredients happen to be the same thing, just in a different form. So this is going to be 1 cup of frozen strawberries, and then we're going to follow that up with 1 cup of fresh strawberries. We like to do a little bit of fresh mixed with a little bit of frozen, so you really get just a nice consistency with that smoothie. So for those of you who were on last week, you heard me talk a little bit about my love for strawberries. Strawberries are low in sugar, they're low in carbohydrates, and that's due to they have a high water content in them. So they're really just a great addition if you're trying to watch your sugar intake or you might be a diabetic. It's not going to boost that your sugar levels too much, which is really great. The other thing, strawberries also have a nice dose of vitamin C in that, as does another one of our fruits as well. So it's really good for your immune system. So our next ingredient is going to be 1 cup of frozen strawberries. All right, there you go. And as I said, we're going to also be putting 1 cup of fresh strawberries right into the blender. If you notice here, they still have the greens on them. There's really no need when you're making a smoothie to cut the greens off. It just adds a little bit of extra nutrients into that smoothie. And, you know, as a family, we love to go berry picking. We love strawberries. For those of you who are in South Florida, we usually go to Burr's Berry Farm or Nas Berry Farm. The best time to pick berries is around December to March. And again, if you're buying a lot of those, you can bring them home, go ahead and just wash them. You don't need to take off the tops, as I said. And then you can go ahead and put them in the freezer, and they're around for smoothies for later on. All right, there you go. Great. Let's see what our next.
Yummy.
That looks yummy, yes. Okay. Our next ingredient here is 1 whole orange. And you're going to want to make sure that the orange is already peeled and pitted. You don't want any seeds in that orange. I will say that I did peel my orange ahead of time, and I was looking for seeds and did not find any. So hopefully we don't get any of those caught up in the blades. But I did want to mention with oranges, there's a lot of vitamin C. And air actually destroys vitamin C. So you should really be conscientious. As soon as you really cut up and you get that orange ready to eat, you should try to consume it as fast as possible. Orange is also, you know, the vitamin C is really great for your immune system. It's also good for your skin. It protects your skin from those free radicals that can really cause damage to aging. So, you know, they say an apple a day keeps the doctor away, so an orange a day keeps the esthetician away, I guess you could say that. So we're gonna go ahead and put 1 whole medium or so orange right into the blender. All right, Hayden. There you go.
It's not coming out.
Not coming out? All right, and our next ingredient, this is really optional if you don't have this at home. This is our flaxseed. Flaxseed, it has another one of those B vitamins that we talk about. It has B1, which is otherwise known as thiamine. And that's really great because it converts those carbs into energy in your body. So that's really important. We want to make sure that happens so that doesn't create extra fat. And we're going to go ahead and put 1 tablespoon of the flaxseed right into the blender. You want to go ahead and do that? There you go. All right, perfect. And then, as I said before, and for anyone else who has jumped on, we have the native guy joining us. His name is Nick Bofel, and his beehives are out of Coral Gables, not far from South Miami, where the juice bar is. And we use a lot of his products at the juice bar. We use his honeycomb, we use his local honey, his propolis, bee pollen. We even have little packets that you can take to go if you get a tea. and you want to have that for later on in the day. So Nick, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, and if you want to take everyone through a little bit about your local honeycomb and why honeycomb is so important for us and the health benefits of that.
Only for the honey.
Yes, let me unmute him. All right.
Everybody stay.
How are you?
There we go. I think we got Nick.
How you guys doing? You hear me?
Everyone's muted but me, so.
All right, cool. So, local honey, why is it important to consume local honey? Here at the Native Guy, we are very serious about our sweetness. In the state of Florida, we produce over 15 varieties of different local honeys throughout the state. So Florida happens to be one of the top producers in varieties of honey. Right today we have our orange blossom honey. Orange blossom is the fruit flower of the state, and oranges as well. High on vitamin C, sweetness level, very easy to be mixing smoothies to cheeses, pretty much any glazing if you want, salmon especially. But today we're making this delicious smoothie. Benefits on this is using any local honey, period. Always support your local beekeepers. They're the ones that are helping everybody get food in their houses. 1 out of every 3 bites is due to a bee pollinating that flower. Keep that in mind. So the importance of honey and local honey is to help get immune to your local allergies. Any blooms that you wake up that you have your stuffy nose from or whatnot, especially on a hot spring day, by you consuming local honey, it starts controlling those reactions. So the Native Guy, what we do here is we work with local growers, and when we sell orange blossom honey, that came from Central Florida, which came from 20 plus acres of orange fields. When we finish our 6-week cross-pollination project with them, we pull out those hives and extract the honey from there. That's why we're labeling each one a particular flavor. We don't blend, we don't add flavor, it's 100% raw honey.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Nick. And Nick's actually also a South Miamian. He lives very close to the juice bar. So we're gonna go ahead and put about a 1-inch piece of honeycomb right into that smoothie, just to round out the smoothness there. I do wanna mention though, for those of you with children, if you do have children under the age of 1, you need to be very careful with honey. There could be harmful bacteria in it. And really just, I would omit the honey for this recipe if you are making it for young children.
Hey.
All right, let's go ahead and put that right in the blender.
Doesn't want to go in.
It's sticky.
Doesn't want to go in.
All right. So now while this is blending up, I'm gonna go ahead and check the chat, see if there's anything, any questions on there, and then we'll get to try this smoothie. All right. Oh, we gotta, oh my gosh. Wow, we almost had a little bit of an error over here.
I didn't see that.
It's so funny. My husband, he said, hey, before the show, he's like, hey, Hayden, whenever you're about to start the blender, just make sure that the top is on. I was like, Mark, she knows. Don't worry about it. I know. We just had the blender start without the top on it. So I hope you guys got a nice little laugh out of that. Let's check the chat here. All right. Okay, from Carolyn, do you use canned full-fat coconut milk? No, we actually use coconut milk. I'm not really partial to any one of the brands, but we do use the cold coconut milk, and we always use unsweetened. So we really don't need to add any extra sweetness. Of course, in this smoothie particularly, we have the honey, and normally there's different types of fruit that's gonna add all the sweetness that you need. And from Miss Johandra too about the coconut milk. I mean, right now I have the Silk brand in my fridge, and again, I'm just really not partial to any of the brands. You can really just kind of go what's on sale. I would say the biggest piece of that is just always get the unsweetened one. From Marley, why do we use fresh and frozen like the same ingredient? So we wanted to use fresh and frozen because just to keep that really nice consistency with the smoothie, we wanted this smoothie to have a lot of strawberry to it. And if we put all of that, the 2 cups was all fresh strawberry, it would be a little bit more on the liquidy side. And then on vice versa, if we put all frozen strawberries, we would be a very thick, almost like ice cream consistency. So just to kind of keep in between that fresh and frozen fruit, I decided to do kind of half frozen and half of the fresh strawberries. All right, and then from Carolyn, how much honeycomb? We did a 1-inch piece of that. And Nick, if you want to actually, there's a couple of questions on the honey. Where can we find your honey? The website for that, I believe, is thenativeguy.com. Oh, he responded. It is thenativeguy.com. And I think, okay. And then Laura, she asked, what's the difference between flax seeds and chia seeds? There's actually, there's some similarities with it, but there's also just a lot of differences. When I go ahead and send out the full recipe after class, I'll give you the main points of what is in a flax seed, what is in a chia seed, so that you can have that information. But I usually use one or the other when I'm making a smoothie. And I believe our blender is done. So we're gonna go ahead and taste this now. All right, let's see.
Okay, that's all in there.
That's okay, don't worry. All right.
Here, cut.
And also, I did want to mention today, we got a little bit fancy here. So we drizzled a little bit of the Native Guy honeycomb right down the side there. And then we also put a strawberry on the side. Just even though we're at home quarantine, you still want to be fancy, a little bit of pinkies up. And you always want to use your reusable straw. Now we'll go ahead and pour it in.
Show them the color.
Yeah. So you can see that's just a beautiful red color. You do have a little bit of the speckles that you notice, those green, that's from the tops of the strawberries. You won't taste that at all though when you're drinking your smoothie. So let's try this out. Oh man, that is really, really good. It really reminds me of a basic strawberry banana smoothie with another hint of a little bit of sweetness, and the coconut milk really just rounds that out. What is our assistant? Thumbs up today. All right. And that's about all that we have for you guys today. Next class is normally on Sunday. However, due to the Memorial Day holiday, that's going to be canceled. So we will keep you posted on the next class after that. And I will go ahead and unmute you if you would like to say hello to the Native Guy, or if you have any additional questions, you feel free to ask us live at that time. And I see that we